Hey guys, Tristan and Troy here, back with another podcast. It's been a minute, but we're very happy to be back. We're going to be talking about a lot during this podcast. We'll keep it short, but some of you guys might be interested. My recent draft experience, some cool hobby news, Dallas Card Show. We were supposed to be there actually at one
By the
point.
way, lottery pick. All right, in case you
Lottery
guys are
pick,
wondering. Oh,
lottery,
second rounder, nah. Lottery
first
kids.
round, first round or bust. I actually have been getting a lot of requests for rookie cards, so we'll have to get to that as well. But
I'll be
we'll
the.
get
I'll be
into
the. I'm buying that
high.
first one.
Okay, sounds good. We'll get into more of the enough about me. We'll get into the more of the hobby, some of the nitty gritty. We have Prism falling, while we have some brands like Select rising. So what's going to be the case with that going forward? Also, some huge, insane golden auction sales, and we actually get a unique perspective from Tristan as well, considering he is the owner of basically one of those cards. It's a little different numbering, but still to what's going through his head right now in the process of holding a card that's almost definitely worth more than $200,000. So really interested, got a lot to talk about, and we're excited to get into it. But first,
Sweet.
a
Welcome
nice
back.
intro. Wow, let's put our hands together for a great intro. We have we got a banger, a nice song, and a great intro produced by our very own Tristan. We're upping the production value here, guys, and we're just gonna keep leveling it up. I'm excited to see what's to come. But first, before we totally dive into the sports card world, we'll allow myself rather, a minute to be a little self-indulgent here with my draft process. I know at least some of you guys might be interested. So you know what, Tristan, take it away. Interview
let
me,
me
man.
let me play the interviewer for
Yeah.
once. You're usually better at asking questions, but this time I think I've got some pretty important questions to ask you. So first and foremost, Troy just got picked in the first round for the PBA draft. I think his league is set to start in less than a month. And he's going to a pretty good team that has a chance to contend. I don't know too much about it. I was talking to him a little bit off camera, but I've saved some of the better questions for right now. So first, Troy, you want to talk a little bit about where you got picked, the team you got picked to, and a little bit about your situation to start.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it. It literally just happened yesterday. I still have the balloons in the background, so I apologize for that. It was weird. It was cool. I'll try to keep it more like relating it to maybe what people are more familiar with, like the NBA. Like that uncertainty, man, is tough. And it was interesting. I was getting intel. I had a certain team tell me they were going to pick me for sure at a certain point, and then it didn't happen. And I was because some stuff got shaken up before, just like in the real NBA or NFL draft. Teams are set to take certain people, but then someone gets picked early or someone falls, and it really affects what happens. So that's kind of what happened to me. I still ended up in a very good spot. I'm really excited, but yeah, like I said, I'm not gonna lie. Like all that stuff, waking up and it's draft day and everything. It's cool. I feel like I kind of have like a unique perspective on what some of the rookies, in the NBA have went through now.
100%. And like you said, it's not, obviously this isn't the NBA. It's not like,
Yeah.
anything crazy, but you're a celebrity out there. And I think, there's a lot of people, thousands of people that tune in and watch the draft live. You said there was another first round pick that's going to the same team as you. Did you reach out to him? Did he reach out to you? Is there anything you guys got cooking as, new dynamic duo out there?
Yeah, we have there's a good amount of Americans on my team. Well, I'm actually like I wouldn't say friends with, but I knew before. So that's a good thing. He played at Portland State, and so some of our viewers, another D1 guy. I think we have maybe even two other American D1 guys on our team. So we have a lot of talent. And yeah, to be with him and to be, once again, I won't get too into the nitty gritty because the 99.9% of the people watching, they won't care so much about like, oh, we have Greg Slaughter on our team. Like, what does that mean to people? But it's interesting. I compared it to Tristan. I said, I feel like I'm kind of on the Suns of the PBA. So we have a couple solid veterans, but we also have some young, exciting players, and we look to be a playoff team. Probably not one of the favorites to win the championship or anything like that, but I don't know. I think it's a good situation for me. I'm excited.
Yeah, I think you probably be the Devin Booker in that comparison with that new and
Ex-
improved jump shot of yours.
exactly. Do they? Well, I hope. Do they? They don't have Frank Kaminsky there anymore, do they?
No, they don't. Well, no, they
Okay.
do, and they have Sarge. I think they have two
I'll
players.
take
on
I'll
for
take
you.
Sarge. Kaminsky's
Yeah.
a little, no matter how accurate it may be, that's a rough one. But
Okay,
hey, like I said,
Troy, I have one
yeah,
more
go ahead.
question for you about
All
the
right,
draft.
you got it.
We have. I mean, we'll be talking about this for hours after
Yeah.
we're not on live. But one thing I saw, like I read the scouting report, and it talked about your hustle, making winning plays, rebounding, stuff that wasn't always your calling card. Like in high school, you were always pretty polished, but to get from there to where you are now, obviously, hats off to you. I think it's pretty awesome. It says a lot about your determination and work ethic. Have you had any conversations with your dad or your family about it? Have they been supportive? Obviously.
Yeah, I actually I haven't talked to them. They sent me like congratulatory text, but it was late and everything. It's tough with the time change. I almost didn't want to talk to them, to be honest. Well, not I didn't want to talk to them, but I think everyone around me was almost more stressed than I was before the draft and wanting it to go so well. And like even something like I thought I was going to go a tiny bit earlier and then going to 11. I don't want them to be like, "Oh, that's so like." So I don't know. That's kind of what I was thinking. But like you said, I'm happy to I wake up every day and I'm thankful that I'm waking up today and we get to talk about sports cards, and then I'm gonna go to practice after that. And then you know what I mean? Like this is what I have to do. So it's a blessing. I'm happy. And once again, thanks for everyone for allowing me these couple minutes to talk about what happened.
Totally awesome, man. Like from high school, we played together before that. But I've seen the trials and tribulations that you fought through. You struggled a lot of injuries. You had a tough going on junior varsity, and then varsity wasn't always a given. And then every level you get to Wake Forest, we didn't know if you were going to play. You step on, walk on. Then all of a sudden, every time you guys do the scouting report, you're playing like the scorer on the other team. So you even said it, you get to go out as, who like Marvin Bagley or other guys that just
Ben Simmons was the best one.
I don't know about that comp. I don't think I can do that comp just yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's totally awesome, and hats off to you. I'm super proud, and we're all super proud of you out here.
Appreciate that. And the last thing I'll wrap it up on, I got a really nice text from my coach in college. Maybe for some of you OGs who watch this, you might be familiar with Danny Manning. He was my coach at Wake, and he wished me congrats. And I've been looking. He has a deal with Panini. He has some National Treasure, nice autos, and something like that. So I'll be honest with you too, Tristan. I think that's a little bit down the road at this point, but he will be on this podcast at some point. So I'm excited to talk about that. But okay, getting into kind of the cards, we had a big event in my life. There was also a big event this weekend, the Dallas Card Show. A ton of people were there. I know we were talking about it at some point. I won't lie, I'm disappointed that we weren't able to go.
Yeah, I'm pretty bummed. I mean, honestly, all things considered with COVID and stuff, I'm not mad I wasn't there. I'm just more mad I missed out, on what was going on.
Yeah.
But couldn't really risk it in Texas. I know people can be pretty reckless with masks and stuff like that. And even flying is kind of sketchy, but I saw a lot of stuff moving. I saw people pick up, nice rookie LeBron stuff. People send videos on their Instagram stories with like $200,000 cash. So I think there's definitely some big players there. I've yet to go to like a real national, card event. So I'm bummed, and we're going to definitely hit the next one. No doubt.
Yeah. The deals and stuff were nice, and something people have told me, but I've kind of realized as well, is like I wish I could have met the people there. It was more so like I think getting to hang out and like not networking, but you know what I mean, like spending time with these people. That's the biggest thing I missed out on, because there's a couple of things that I might have moved, but I guess even when we were talking about going before, I think we were going to go in January or February, I think it was. I was like, I'm not sure exactly what I'd be buying or selling. So I was like, I don't know. But yeah, it would have been cool to be there. We'll definitely make it happen at some point.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, sometimes it's just about making putting a face to the name. We talk to people all day on all these different platforms. It's kind of cool to meet them in person, for sure. But we will make that happen. And hopefully when we do, we're ready with some money and some cards that we can trade.
That's the other thing. Actually, I was like in January, I was kind of, and I'm still kind of scrambling, but I think I'm actually starting to. Once again, we've talked about it, but I'm getting that solid basis where I have some nice kind of like anchor pieces, like stuff I'm just going to keep in the vault, and also enough capital where I'm able to make moves. So that's when I think you can really have a good time at these type of shows and having cards to trade as well. So hopefully soon. But actually, speaking of big time deals, this is more of a casual one. Me and Tristan actually haven't even talked to each other in a while, so it's good for us to catch up. But one of the other biggest events in the hobby was the golden auctions. Crazy stuff happening. I was thinking, like, I think the MJ, the Fleer went for, I think it was 750K in a PSA 10 like 2 months ago, and then the next one didn't go as high. And even I was thinking, I was like, okay, I don't think we've seen the all-time peak, but maybe kind of the craziness is like we've hit kind of a top. But with this golden auction, I think it literally was confirmed. This was the the highest grossing, the biggest, whatever you want to call it, one ever.
Yeah.
And I guess I'll get your general reaction first before we get into how it specifically applies to you with that, Katie.
Yeah. I mean, I think I was watching that auction. I forget, it was one, what is that, early March? Or was that end of May? Might have been end of May. Either way,
the one with the MJ.
yeah, no, the one that just happened, just so people, to give people some context.
Oh yeah.
But
Yep.
Either way, I was watching it, and I know like there's a LeBron. I think it was an exquisite 8.5 that eclipsed, what is that, 8 figures?
Yeah, it went for
Or 7 figures. Yeah.
Well, the biggest thing I noted is that one went for just about 1.5 million, which makes the one our buddy Darius and Alt picked up for 1.5 million and a 9.5 seem
like
kind of cheap.
Yeah. So I think as a whole, like, it's interesting because I think we've officially seen, like, The Ringer has a card show where they talk about, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. They have this one guy, I think is from Boston, who's been doing it for like maybe 20 years or so. I think we're finally starting to see some mainstream. I mean, it's been mainstream and it seems like it's starting to level out, but I think we're seeing with these high-end cars, we've always talked about it, but it's kind of a market that you don't really know the prices. And like it's for NFTs and all these things that are going crazy, like even stuff in the art world, where I saw this video of the guy who was selling a JPEG for, like, I think it ended at 69 million, which is nuts. I know he knew it was going to go high. It was one of the highest sales ever for an active artist. The only reason why I bring it up is because, as an owner of a card, that I definitely have a card that's worth a lot of money, but I don't even know exactly what the value is until you find someone who's willing to pay for it, which is nuts, because like something like that, the first LeBron sale, and then there was a big Giannis that sold. Those first were kind of like the trailblazers, and now we're starting to see that these high-end cards, at least from a price standpoint, are here to stay for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And I think maybe the other biggest thing I noted was, not only before, I feel like it was just but it was mostly like the MJ and the LeBron exquisite, like the cream of the crop. And these are still the top, probably even 0.05% of sports cards, but not to take it too far into soccer, but one of the biggest sales, I'm not sure if you caught it, we might have talked about it, but there's this young kid called Erling Haaland, and his Topps Chrome Bundesliga auto, it was numbered, but I think it was numbered at like 50 or something. So not like a 1 of 1 or anything, went for 120K in a PSA 10.
Wow.
So specifically for the soccer hobby, that was huge, because then all of a sudden, just to throw a name out there, like, Mbappe or João Felix or some of the other guys, all of a sudden their cards seem cheap.
Yeah.
And that's just one example that springs to the top of my head. But there was very similar stuff happening with basketball, whether it be, I think I saw some MJ LeBron patches going for absurd money. Obviously, the Kobe sale was huge. But I think before, when you kind of saw, okay, what is the LeBron exquisite drag up? Maybe his Topps Chrome to an extent. Obviously, his autos, or MJ Fleer might pull up Barkley, but I think a ton of stuff got pulled up by this latest golden auction, because it wasn't just the holy grails that went for absurd numbers. It seemed like it was everything.
Yeah, I think the reason why your Holland example is really good. I don't know too much about him. I've seen a little bit, but
yeah,
it's a good example of something that I had no idea about that is $120,000. Same goes for Top Shot, which is just, I think we're seeing people pay, real amounts of money for cards that, me and you aren't even familiar with. So I think obviously, the National Treasures and the Exquisite and the LeBron Refractor, all these made sense because it's kind of like the typical Holy Grail cards. But
Yeah.
I think it's promising to see, random stuff numbered out of 50. Obviously, for soccer collectors, I'm sure that Holland card is big, but the fact that we didn't know about it and it's that expensive is
But it's not the
promising.
biggest though. That's the thing. Is it's
Yeah.
like I guess I could get roasted if there's a real soccer, but like for me, even just a couple months ago, if you told me that card sold for, if you asked me what that card was worth, I would say maybe like 5K, like somewhere in there. So the fact that it went for that and I actually, now I'll take it back. I feel pretty confident about being at least in that neighborhood, maybe 10K, maybe even stretch it to 15. But that was in no way a 6-figure card, even just 3 months ago. So that's absolutely huge.
Yeah,
But
I mean that's just how this stuff goes. Like if stuff that was 15K a year ago was a lot of money for cards a year ago. I think we've come a long way in the last 365 days, and stretching back to 2 years ago, which is when I got the card that you're talking about. I spent over 20,000 when you include taxes, which at the time is absurd. People were thinking, why are you spending $20,000 on cardboard? And maybe they had a point, but I just think the new norm for expensive is something we have to throw out our old idea of what costs a lot.
Yeah, and we've danced around a little bit. We've been dancing around what your card is. I think we might have mentioned it, but it's the KD Exquisite patch auto, right? And I guess I'll let you kind of take this one because I forget the exact number. But why don't you explain what you have and what sold during the golden auction?
Yeah. So the card I have, it's the Kevin Durant Exquisite, numbered out of 99. The true RPA that people like to get. The one that sold for golden was numbered out of 35, so it's slightly more rare, and it did have a nicer patch. I think a lot of Kevin Durant Exquisite patches aren't very good. Most of the numbered out of 99 are actually one colors. Like I think everything listed on eBay right now is one color. Mine is two color, but it's kind of, it's not great. It's not super colorful. And I know Curry has way better patches. But the reason we're talking about this is because the number out of 35, I think, ended for 788,000, or might have even eclipsed 800,000. Which a year ago, Durant was actually pretty cheap. Public perception was pretty low on him. I mean, obviously he just gone down with the Achilles, but even before that, there wasn't a lot of belief. People thought he was a snake. He was getting a lot of hate on mainstream outlets. So I think the card market as a whole has come pretty full circle on him. I think Curry prices had kind of been there. There was already a National Treasures that ended over $350,000 for Steph. So I think it was interesting to finally see, Durant at least get close to that Curry range.
Yeah. No, it's crazy how things have changed. I thought about that. And I will say one thing, though, about Durant. People are like, oh, my God, I can't believe we didn't see this. There was a lot of questions about Durant. So kudos. You know what I mean? Like, yes, even considering all that. But we did not. I mean, just the injury alone, right? Like, we did not know. That's a big time injury.
Yeah.
So for him to come back and play at the level he has, and even the Nets, too. I mean, the James Harden trade, I mean, sure, we thought maybe they would make a move, but we didn't know they would be this good. There was I don't want to say a likely scenario, but there's definitely like a big, not a big chance. There was a chance that they come back and the Nets are just not good.
Yeah.
And Kevin Durant, even, super knock on wood, isn't healthy, isn't 100% healthy. At which point you've made a very bad investment with that card potentially. Yeah. So I guess I don't know what the point of me sharing that was, but just I shared it anyways. But more importantly than that, you talked about it. You have a very expensive card now that once again got pulled up by kind of this other sale. What is your thought process now? What's the plan? What are you thinking?
Yeah, to be honest, I have I don't know if he wants me to, I mean, if I should even be mentioning him, but I have a friend on Instagram that has been trying to get the card for the last month, but also more than that has kind of been advising me. I think he picked up another Durant card for around $100,000. I think he knows the owners at Golden Auctions pretty well. So he's kind of been, hitting me up intermittently, and I've kind of been hitting him up just about where we think the value is. And I even was really close to sending it to Golden Auctions, to be honest with you. I spent around 20,000, and if I could get 2 or 3 or 350, whatever it ends for, and pay my taxes and take that chunk of change and reinvest some of it, and maybe buy some more property with the other bit of it. I'm very tempted because that's like that's real money. But somehow I've kind of held it this whole time, and I'm not holding it because I'm scared to sell it or I don't know what to do. I'm holding it because I think it's still a decent hold. I think Durant is still at the tail end of his prime. He's in New York. He's in a huge market, and he definitely has a chance to pick up another ring or two. I think they should be, either the favorites or second in line behind the Lakers. So for that reason, I'm still holding. I think if someone were to say, "Hey, Tristan, I have this card. This is what I paid for it. This is what I could get," I'd probably advise them, sell it. It's safe. But at this point, I've cashed out a lot of cards in the last year. So for me personally, it's a really nice card, and I think it's awesome to look at. It's pretty cool. It's in the Supersonics jersey. And I've always been a pretty big Kevin Durant fan. So I think I'm at least going to hold it for now, but I've had real temptation to sell it.
Yeah, that's a tough one because I remember, I think I'm allowed to share this, but you kind of mentioned it. I think you did mention it on the podcast. You had a 125K offer not too long ago for that card. And I didn't tell you to sell it, but I think I told you like I would sell. Like I would have, if I was in your shoes, I would have sold. So that's kind of the tough thing because at that point it's whatever it was, 6x return at a high value. Like I don't know how you can not sell, but at least as of now, it's really worked out for you. So I don't even know. I wish I had a good advice for you. Not that you're asking for it or the listeners, but we're in uncharted territory. Even if you have been a big time player like you have, I'm pretty sure this is uncharted territory for you. This is
100%.
The most expensive card you've ever held, right?
Yeah, by a margin. I've had cards in like the $80,000 to $100,000 range, but this is the nicest card I've had by far.
Yeah, so it's tough. Not only that, like holding that, but also where the card market is at. It's always the struggle of, I think people have to remember some of these things are more cliches that we say, but I think this is something that actually don't get heard talked about too much. Is people have been saying these prices are absurd and they're never going to last forever.
Yeah.
Even back in 2019, right? Or 2018, because it's been a gradual increase. So that's not me saying like, oh, we're this is still gonna another 10x, but it's just to say that there's a lot of things like at every step of the card market, people have sold out and said this is absurd. Cards will never. This is the absolute peak. I remember it was literally during May last year. Really, and smart people too on Blowout were saying like, you idiots, I can't wait to see you people who didn't sell during the bubble.
They got their pitchforks and everything.
Yeah. And like I said, these are smart people, and I'm not saying they were wrong because I didn't know what was going to happen either, but it's just funny. Like people have been saying this forever. So that's like the tough thing. It's like no one knows where it's going to go. So we don't, what is the smart decision? I honestly don't know.
I think that phrase, what you just said, no one knows where it's going to go. Obviously that's the cop out. It's easy to say that. And then, we could just throw our arms up and there's no reason to have a podcast because no one knows. But, all you could do is make educated decisions. With the Durant, with the market as a whole, I think maybe, at a certain point, you're going to start to see stuff drop off. Like I know a lot of the vintage stuff, I was listening to the Ringer podcast where they talked about cards. And I know AI prices were like cut in a quarter. So literally lost, 75% of the value from like a month ago when all the vintage stuff was going crazy. So, I think we see stuff rise and fall all the time. But just people have different, people that are in the soccer market see it different from people that are in the basketball market, and people that are collecting Donovan Mitchell have a different experience than people collecting James Harden. So, I think as a whole, we know that we have a card market that's piping hot. But I have reason to believe that it's going to stay hot. And I have reason to believe it could even get stronger because you have people that know nothing about sports that are interested in investing in this as an alternative investment. And I think it's cool. Like I think the fact that, we're in our 20s, we're not these, we're not dorky, and there's a lot of people that the
Speak
market.
for yourself.
Okay, well, maybe I don't know. You just got drafted to play professional basketball. The only reason why I'm saying that is that I think it's getting to a point where it's not just nerds collecting cards and that sit in a basement. I think it's you have Chris Brown opening packs and people that have some significance, some cultural significance, and for better or for worse. I think sometimes when stuff reaches that point, you might need to pump the brakes because you have a lot of people that invest uninformed. So I think you'll see stuff pretty volatile still. I think the whole market is volatile, but for high end stuff like the Durant, or I know you just picked up a really nice Messi card. Why would I tell you to sell now when when he retires? When Messi retires, the card you have now, I think is easily double what it is now because Messi is the best player of our generation, hands down.
Yeah.
So and I think there's real sentimental value, which matters. So that's why, I pause before I tell people to sell because, a lot of times, there's no reason to think that these prices are going to drop.
100%. Actually, one point that you said that really stood out to me was kind of like the people have talked about it before, but cards moving into the mainstream. Actually, we'll have to talk about it a little after because I don't want to put it all out there. But I actually was talking to like a big time celebrity. Well, maybe not big time, but a celebrity nonetheless, who was a fan of my channel, and he's just getting into sports cards, and that was like, oh my god, like. So first of all, just on a personal level, that was really cool. So I was excited. I think I did share it with you.
Give the people what they want. Who's the person?
We'll put it in the podcast later. Maybe we'll even be able to have them on at some point. But anyways, it was funny because I was thinking about that, and I was like, man, I remember like to pump because this is the Pump Up Troy video. I remember when I first got into sports cards, and this was over a year ago at this point. People were talking about, wow, you played college basketball and you're collecting sports cards. Like at the time, like there wasn't that many people in the public eye, even though that wasn't too long ago, who were doing it. And now it's kind of like you hear certain names and it's like, okay, yeah, Deshaun Watson and Chris Brown, like that's pretty big. And the person, I was like, wow, this is big. But it's like, there's even another level than that. You know what I mean? Like, Deshaun Watson and Chris Brown are big names, but they're not the biggest names. And I think that'll come. I really think it will. And once again, to take it to soccer a little bit too, something I've been talking about a while. I'm sure you probably don't remember. Maybe some people do, but like there's a bunch of these FIFA YouTubers like KSI, and they're called the Sidemen. They're huge back in the day. They just started opening some soccer packs. So I'm just like, man, I just think it's fully gonna be in the mainstream. Yeah, and we won't go too long on this because like, will the sports cards go up or down? Has definitely been overplayed, talked about to death. But I do think in the context of, like I said, holding that expensive card or holding expensive cards in general, I think there's some factors that don't make sense in terms of like cards have went up 100 times. You got to be worried about that. But also when you just think about like, where is this thing going? I'm still hopeful.
I'm still hopeful too, and I think. And the other piece, if people are looking at it from like an investment, I think the fact that people are looking at it from a collecting standpoint and they think it's cool is awesome. And like, that's what's going to really generate real value, 5 years down the line when these aren't like the new shiny toys anymore. But also for people that are looking from an investing standpoint, when you can make a lot of money, it's not always necessarily the best time to sell. Like, I think people need to think, what can they do with that capital? Like for me, if I sold that, let's say I had $250,000 now, and who knows, I'm not saying that's what it's worth. It could be more, it could be less. But if I had that money now, what am I doing with it? And, until I have something lined up, for at least half of it or a third of it, I don't want, $250K in my bank account. It's just not collecting interest. And, that's boring to me. I want an investment. And, the Durant card provides value to me. So, I think if I had money, if I had somewhere to funnel the money, I'd be more inclined to sell. But until that day, why would you sell the Messi card now? Or like what? What I mean?
I was to piggyback off that. I sold my Messi cards before because I made a good multiple and I just needed the capital. And like I think at one point here, like we literally did have like 90% of my money was in Messi somehow, and I was like, that can't. Not a bad thing, but I was like, that's not necessarily what I want, even just from a fun perspective. So I did sell them, but then I don't. Did you see my latest video? It's okay if
Yeah.
you haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I just got those, those big ones back from PSA, and I made a great return. And before, I think I probably would have just sell and keep it moving. But exactly what you said, I thought about it. I was like, what in the soccer world would I want to buy right now with that money? Because I got me some Holland, I got me some João Felix, I got me some Mbappe. What else would I want to buy? I was like, I'd want to buy more Messi with my
Yeah.
Messi money. So why would I sell?
Yeah.
So
That's
I'm working out a trade though, a
good.
potential for LeBron James Topps Chrome to maybe
Good.
move one of them
Welcome
just
back.
to diversify a little bit.
Welcome back. Yeah, honestly, for me, like I relate that story a lot to like my experience with collecting someone like LeBron. Um, we grew up in an area where a lot of people hate LeBron. I've always, for the last 5 years, I've kind of been turned into a pretty big fan. And he's definitely has a campaign to be the best player of all time that is starting to become unassailable, I think. So I actually like I had a LeBron card, an SPX card I bought for like 6,000. I moved it for 12,000, and this is like a year ago, and I immediately regretted it. So then I traded, got back like an SP authentic card. It's got an autograph in a good card holder, and like usually that's kind of been my experience. It sounds like it's been your experience. Like you'll make good money, and especially for someone like LeBron, but right after you do, you kind of regret it. And it's like, who are the players I want to collect? Who are the players in 5 years will still be relevant? And that's Messi, that's LeBron, that's Curry, that's Durant, that's a lot of, and there's countless other players, and there's young players that definitely have a chance to get there. So like for me, as I've gotten older, I've definitely gotten a little more conservative, and like having my money in the blue chippers. And LeBron has a chance to get a Finals MVP, a regular season MVP this year, and he's 36. So we're not, neither of us are like LeBron fanboys, but that's just absurd. I'm 24 and I'm already starting to feel my body break down. So to see this guy do this at 36 is awesome. It's totally cool. And, it's cool to have a piece of history from 2003.
100%. I think it's somewhat related, but what you're talking about, holding LeBron versus kind of moving quicker. I had someone ask me the other day, like I have a good chunk of change to invest in sports cards. What would you do if you're starting from zero and you were me? And I said, I think obviously everyone knows this. You want to have your money in the blue chips, right? LeBron, Messi. I was like, that's what I would do. I'd buy LeBron and Messi and have a lot of my money in that. But for me, though, that's not all I would do. I think you do need to have some money to stick and move. I said,
Yeah.
especially if you enjoy doing this and you don't want to just if you want to lock it in a vault and not look at it, that's easy. LeBron, Messi, MJ, just call it a day. But I think if you really want to do this, you have to have that little bit of money though to stick and move.
Yeah.
And I think if you have that though, like you said, you with that KD, me with the Messi's, obviously to a much lesser value, but it's like we have enough money, or at least to stick and move a little bit, and we have our Kawhis and our João Felixes and our Hollands and stuff to kind of more flip. That it's like then you keep that stuff. You just keep that as an anchor if you believe in the sports card market.
Yeah, I think I really like your phrase stick and move. I don't know.
Yeah.
I totally relate to that. And I've found myself like that's just kind of who I am. I've always been kind of a risk taker, and the flipping side is fun. It is a hobby for me, just as much as like the collecting and holding side is. So, a lot of young guys, if they're 19 and 20 and they were flipping sneakers and now they're trying to get into flipping cards, I'm not mad at them. And I'll give them the advice. I'll say, here, I think this guy is cheap in the off season, and you can sell on preseason hype alone and make money. Because if that's what you're after, it's a good way to do it. You capitalize on people's emotions, and there's a lot of people that just won't think about basketball between this month, and then a month or 3 weeks before the season, that player pops before playing one game of basketball. It goes up 50%. Yeah. So you buy a card for $500. And then you can sell it for $750 3 months later just because of the season. So, there's real opportunity there. And, I think people are fools to say, that they trash people that just get into for investing. And I'm not mad at them. Like, why, if there's money making opportunities, why are you mad? Let them do their thing, or, take advantage of those same trends.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'll actually speak for both of us though. It's not a good or bad thing. But for me, he was also, I've had people ask me, I was like, I'm not a same day flipper or a 1 week
No,
flipper.
no.
I'm sure you can make money, but it's just it's just not for
Not
me.
worth it. It's not worth it.
Not worth it. But to kind of wrap this up, actually, something we also talked about in our group chat, NFTs.
Yeah.
Once again, something that has been talked about to death. So we won't dive into the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency of it all. But how do you feel about them specifically with relation to sports cards?
Well, like NBA Top Shot.
Yeah, I guess I'll just I'll phrase the question like this: why are you not putting a ton of money? Why aren't you taking? Why don't you sell that KD and put a good amount of that into Top Shot?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not selling the KD just because it has the year, the significant rookie year tag tied to it, and it's numbered out of 99. And I don't even know what his Top Shot card looks like.
But just hypothetically.
No, I know, but I'm answering the first part of your question. But like you also asked like, why am I not investing? And I think if I had more money available, I would be. Like, I actually am kind of not excited. I'm kind of interested. I'm intrigued by Top Shot. I had a buddy of mine invest around 30,000. This is like 3 months ago. And I was initially kind of like, oh, that's stupid, man. You could find that clip on YouTube. You just bought a 10-second clip that I could find on YouTube. Like, I was kind of clowning him. And like, he was like, yeah, whatever, your way of doing it is the old school way. This is kind of like the new version of it. Here's the landing page. It's kind of clean. It's still numbered to give stuff like base cards that are numbered out of 4,000. He kind of gave me the whole rundown. And like, the more I heard about it, the more I was intrigued about it. Because I think the fact that it's like Robinhood. You're on Robinhood, like I'm on Robinhood, and it's cool to have no other expenses or worries. You could just click buy, you get it at a certain price, click sell, you sell at a certain price. And I think that's definitely interesting. And I think that's where it's kind of scalable. Like, you have people that don't want to buy a piece of cardboard, have it authenticated. Maybe it gets damaged in the mail. There's all these other worries. So I think Top Shot, like he showed me, he has a Luka, like the Luka game winner against the Clippers, which like to me is like probably the sickest Top Shot video you could have. Like the fact that was the first year they came out with cards on Top Shot, and it's a game winner in the playoffs. Iconic moment for, the next generational talent. So I want to invest some money just because, I think rolling the dice on it, and I think it's a cool idea. And obviously, NFTs have crazy momentum all over the place, not just in cards. So to answer your question, like I'm not disinterested. I've actually, since the last time we've talked, I've grown a lot more interested. I just, don't have a lot of money available at the moment.
Yeah, for me, I have a couple things. So the first would be like just to caution people, like you said, don't have that old head mindset of like, oh, I don't get it. You can look it up on YouTube. And I won't get into all the flaws with that, but it's not an exact comparison, but it's the same thing as like, oh, I mean, there's a picture of the Michael Jordan rookie on Google as well. And we can argue on that. But I guess the point is, just because you don't understand it or enjoy it personally, that doesn't mean it's not going to be a thing. We've already seen that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's people who do enjoy this. I do think there's something to be said, though. I think the number of people who genuinely enjoy collecting Top Shot moments, just in my opinion, is a lot less than the people who genuinely enjoy collecting sports cards, though. Yeah. That's what I will say. But in terms of just purely from a financial aspect, my one worry with NFTs, I think NFTs will definitely be a thing. They will continue. Like, it's going to be something people collect. It's going to be relevant. They're going to be worth a lot of money. But people have made this point before, but there's going to be so much carnage, man. Like, people are going to lose a lot of money. People are going to make a lot of money, but so much stuff is going to go by the wayside. Yeah. And, contrasting to you, I'm a very risk averse person. And that's how I got into sports cards. But now I'm going to knock on wood. But for instance, like that Messi card, may be wrong, but I really feel right now my downside is something like, let's just call it 40%. Yeah. I think if it went down that much, I could get out of it and then just call it a 40% loss. And I'm willing to live with that. But with Top Shot, if you're putting serious money into it, I think you have to be prepared for a quick 95% loss.
Yeah.
because it's not. I sent you the screenshot actually. It's not a direct thing, but there was a soccer. It's not soccer Top Shot, but a soccer crypto investing type thing, and it got shut down, I think, by the government because it wasn't doing the right type of things. And there was a guy who posted he had 130K in there, and he literally lost 98%.
Dude, super
and
messed up.
I'm not saying it won't happen.
Probably literally within 24 hours.
In 24 hours. Also, because you've seen it. I'm sorry, I don't mean to go at Top Shot because like literally we have a partner. I have an affiliate link. Probably won't be in the description of this, but just hypothetically. But we've already seen it. They've like locked the market, and I think that's what actually happened to that guy. Like that could happen. Like something crazy happens. They lock it. You're not able to sell your moments, and once you get out, you've lost 98%
all that value.
And I'm not specifically calling for that for Top Shot because I think, if you had to bet on one, maybe that might be one of the better 100%. Ones. But
that'd be the Bitcoin of cards. I think
I've said it before. I don't think NBA has any particular loyalty to Top Shot. I don't think that many of especially these crazy speculators, they have absolutely no loyalty to Top Shot. So I guess that's my only concern for me personally with NFTs is I don't think there's an NFT out there right now that doesn't have that potential 95% downside quickly.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I've talked about it before. My personal investing advice is, could I sleep at night? So for instance, with that Messi card, right? If I bought it for, let's just call it 100K and it went for 60K and I sold out and I lost that, I could sleep at night. I really could. I'd be like, you know what? I felt this, and that. I learned, and it just didn't work out. Yeah. But if I put 50K into Top Shot and then it went down to 5K, I couldn't sleep at night. I really, for me personally, I couldn't handle it.
Yeah, you just feel like your money evaporates. And with cards, like I like, and it's the same thing with like property or anything like that. People like investing in a physical good, like, and when the value drops, at least it drops a little slower. Like your Messi card isn't going to go from 100% to 60% overnight.
Yeah.
Or let's just assign a random number. It's not going to go from 20,000 to 12,000 just like that. It might take 6 months and you'll have times to sell out or, trade or do whatever you want to do. But the fact that with these NFTs, your buddy who's collecting soccer cards or that guy who had 130K, his money evaporated and by no fault of his. And that's always been my concern. And that's why I missed out on Bitcoin and stuff like that. I had a little bit of money in Ethereum, but I was never big on cryptos. And, I think I'm taking the L on that one. I think they've gone crazy. The value's gone up and it seems like they have momentum. And I know there's countries that actually use them as currency. And I know we're using them here as currency in a lot of different markets, but it's not for us. Like that's not your thing. That's not my thing. But to say I wouldn't invest in it, it would be wrong. Like I'm interested in it. It's just not going to be our calling card,
Yeah. The last thing I'll say though, I think it's actually good for the sports card market. I think there's a lot of people who haven't gotten into sports cards, but have gotten into Top Shot. I mean, we've all talked to people who are fans of basketball, but not necessarily collectors, and have gotten into Top Shot. And I really think that crosses over. So I guess, if I was to name this segment, it'd be like, will NFTs be the end of sports cards? I think it's a good thing, actually. I think it's a boost.
Yeah, that's a good title. And I think it's just going to be like a 10-second clip of me saying yes and then staring at the camera like this and then just zoom out with the intro, of course, before.
I think we need to get actually one day, honestly, my dream is like, I really want to get like a digital content producer, you know what I mean? If you clip that up and then added like the dun, 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 or like a nice little zoom in on your face, that'd actually be some good stuff. So you guys have that to look forward to. But all right, we ran a little long here, but this was good. It was good to catch up. I genuinely came into this and I had a lot of stuff that I want to talk about just to hear what you thought.
Yeah. And, this is the first time we've recorded a podcast in a while, but you've got stuff cooking. I've got stuff cooking. I think super happy to get online. You're all the way in the Philippines right now as we speak. It's morning time for you and it's nighttime for me. So I'm glad we could do it even when we're this far apart. Super proud of you, man, getting drafted. That's awesome. And I'm sure that there's going to be some listeners that are they're happy to hear your story. I know you say 99% don't, but you've got 4,000 people on your other account that are interested. So that's a big deal, getting paid to play basketball. And now, we're talking about investing thousands and thousands of dollars. And, I think we're doing a good job of it. So always happy to come on and talk hoops with you, Troy.
Definitely. fun stuff. And we'll, flip a little hat here for the end here, but you know what it is. But no, thank you guys so much for watching. And the last thing I will say is, people, like you said, those 4,000 people are worried, man. They're like, is this the end of the channel? You're just going to be too busy with basketball? The only reason, honestly, to tell you too is I had to do a quarantine. I had to move. It was a the move was the crazy part, but actually being here in the Philippines won't be. If anything, I'll actually have more time now that I have my own space. So the podcast and all the videos and stuff will be right there.
Streaming.
So we'll be good to go.
I want to see some triple doubles, Troy, with 3 steals, 2 blocks.
Yes, sir.
You should be leading the league in deflections, especially after I read that scouting report.
And I'll definitely send those rookie cards over. Yes. All right, guys. We'll see you again soon.
All right. Peace. Thanks for tuning in.